Hey everyone, today we're going to learn how to design some custom bicycle grips just like the ones seen here. We're going to use the 2D text tool to spell out your name or any other text you wish to add. Let's go ahead and get started. Come on up here to File and we're going to do a new design. So the first thing I'm going to do is change my document settings and I'm going to use millimeters as my unit. So I'm going to click here, come on over here to millimeters and hit OK. And the reason for that is just in case you guys want to 3D print them, you'll thank me later because you won't have to convert between millimeters and inches. All right, so let's go ahead now and start a 2D sketch. I'm going to click here and we're going to start a sketch here on our XY plane. All right, so now I'm going to come on up here to create and I'm going to select the text tool so I can create some custom text for the grips. And then right around in this area, I'm just going to click once and then this box will pop up and I'm going to click here to add the text, and you can add whatever text you want to add. All right, to customize it, I'm going to type in my son's name and I'm going to change the height here to 20 and I'm going to make it bold. And then for the font, I'm just going to go ahead and stick with something basic like Arial, but feel free to customize it however you want. Try some of the different fonts, try some of the different heights. Okay. When you're done, I will say this, when you hit OK, you're going to want your text to be around whatever you're going to want it to fill up the grip. So you're going to want your text in length, whatever you type in, to be around 100 millimeters or so in overall length here. So now I'm going to use my sketch dimension tool to center this guy. So the overall length here, like I said, you want it to be about 100 and 99 is good. So I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to center it now. To center it, I'm going to click here and click my origin and I'm going to make that 50. So now it's centered. And then I'm going to come here and here. Let's make that like maybe 12. Okay, that looks pretty good. I want to make sure that my text, about half of my text is above the x-axis and about half of my text is below the x-axis. In fact, I'm going to make that 11 just to move it up a little bit, or the other way, excuse me, 13. And that's looking pretty good. I'm going to hit escape. Now I'm going to finish my sketch and I'm going to go ahead now and extrude this guy, this text, a distance of 20 millimeters. That should do it, and hit OK. Okay, so now we need to draw our name out. We're going to need to draw our name out here with your text. Whatever you decide, we're going to need to make it 4 times. So I'm going to basically rotate it, hold down Shift in your mouse wheel to rotate this. And then I am going to start a sketch just right here. Okay, and I don't like how it flipped around like that, so I want to revert it back to the way it was, just like this. Okay, and once again, I'm going to come up to create and grab my text tool. And I'm going to kind of try to estimate right about here is where I want my bottom left corner of my text to be. And once again, I'm going to type out my text that I want. And notice how it popped up like this. I'm going to rotate it where I want it. Change its height again to 20 to be consistent. And I'm going to make it bold again, just like I did on my last text. And I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to finish my sketch. And I'm going to extrude that text. And I don't want this J. See how it's trying to do the J from before? I don't want that. And if that happens to you, what you can do now is you can go to Edit Sketch, back into your sketch, click on your sketch, and do Press Pull. And we're going to pull it out a distance of, or extrude it, the same thing, a distance of 20. Make sure it says Join so we don't cut, and hit OK. So now we got to write out our text 2 more times here. And I'm doing this in a manner so as you rotate your grip, you see the same text in the same direction, okay? So there's different ways to do this. Obviously, I'm kind of taking it slow to show you a way where all your text is always lined up and flowing in the right direction. All right, so I'm going to go ahead now and start a sketch here on, let's click over here on Origin. not that, on our XZ plane. And once again, I'm going to come up to create and grab my text tool, and somewhere right around in here, I'm going to go ahead now and start drawing out my text again. And notice how it kind of places it like that. We can fix that. We can just rotate it 180 degrees. Change the text height to 20. Make it bold. Hit OK. Now notice we don't have it exactly where we want it. So I'm going to move it up, and we can do that. We can go to Create. I'm going to go to Project. And I'm just going to project any of these lines here. I'm going to zoom in here. Right there. And now I can dimension it, the height, to center this guy a little bit better. So I'm going to change that to, I'm going to move it up a couple millimeters, so maybe 8. Let's try that and see if it's centered better. It's pretty good. Like I said, you want to make sure about half your text is above the x-axis and about half your text is below the x-axis. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to move it 1 more millimeter up to 7. And I think that's probably a little better. Okay. Now we're going to finish our sketch. We're going to extrude it out. We're going to go -20. And we're not going to cut. We're going to join, and not -200, -20. And hit OK. All right, so if you hold down Shift in your mouse wheel and you kind of rotate this guy, notice how the text is in the same direction, and that's exactly what we want, okay? So now we need to add one more text here, and let's see our plane. We want our XZ plane again, so we're going to start a sketch on there. And for the last time, let's come on up and grab our text tool. And it's right around in here, I'm going to just kind of click again where I can start drawing out my text. And if you want, you can actually come over here, project geometry, and project that line, hit OK. And then you can come back, grab your text tool, and draw exactly in that line if you really want to be precise here. So I'm going to click there. I'm going to type out the text I want again. The same height, so we're consistent, and make it bold. And I'm going to use the same text, and I'm going to hit OK. Okay, and once again, I want to center this guy, and it looks pretty well centered. About half of the blue is already below, maybe a little too much. So, and like I said, we can fix that if we go to project. Let's just project any line here. Dimension. I'm going to click here and click here, and I'm going to move it down just a little bit. And I think that's probably pretty good. Nice and centered. Let's go ahead now and finish our sketch. We're going to extrude. A distance of 20. And we're not going to cut. We're going to join. And we're going to hit OK. All right, so once again, if you hold down Shift in your mouse wheel and you just kind of rotate it, all your text should be going in the same direction, okay, which it does. So we're looking pretty good here. I'm going to go ahead and save it real quick and just call it Bike Grip 2 since I already made one earlier, and hit save. So I'm going to hold down Shift in my mouse wheel and I'm going to move my mouse around so I see this backside here. And now what I want here is I'm going to start a sketch over here, but I want to offset a plane from it. So I'm going to go to Construct. I'm going to offset a plane from this backside, and I'm going to make a distance of -5. I'm sorry, +5. Now, depending upon how much text you have, you may want to offset this more or less, or however long you really want to make your bicycle grips. So I'm going to go ahead and hit 5 and hit OK. Now I'm going to start a sketch on this plane. Now I'm going to come on up and grab a center diameter circle, and right around somewhere in the center area here, as best you can, I'm just going to drag out a circle, and I'm going to make it 27 millimeters in diameter. Okay. I'm going to finish my sketch. And now I want to extrude this circle. I don't want to go that way. I want to go a distance of minus 110 the other way. And I don't want to cut. I want to join. And I'm going to hit OK. So now I'm going to start another sketch on this face. And I'm going to grab my circle tool again. And starting at my origin, I'm going to drag out a circle about, let's go with 30 millimeters. And I'm going to drag out another circle big enough so that it covers all my text. So it's out past my text here, and we're good. We don't need to dimension it. Now we're going to finish our sketch, and we're going to extrude this guy. We're going to go the other way, a distance of minus 110, and we're going to make sure it says cut this time, and we're going to hit OK. One word of caution, if you are 3D printing these grips, make sure your text isn't sticking too far out, because if it's sticking too far out, you're going to have a lot of overhang, and a lot of overhang means you need to add supports, and which leads to more troubles. So just leave it maybe a couple millimeters, a millimeter or two above the surface of your grips. All right, so we're almost done. We want to put some sort of like little end caps on both sides of our grips, and to do that, I am actually going to do a mid plane, a plane between this side and then a plane between that side, so it makes a plane right smack dab in the middle, so I can mirror this feature later. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to come back and I'm going to start a 2D sketch on this surface. All right, so I'm going to grab my circle tool again, and I'm going to just drag out a circle a little bit bigger than my text, maybe 32 millimeters. I'm going to finish my sketch, and I am just going to extrude this guy out a distance of 3 millimeters, and make sure it says join and hit OK. And then let's see it. I'm going to actually go ahead and modify this with a little fillet right here in a distance of, let's just add a 2 millimeter fillet there. Hit OK. And then I'm going to try to mirror this feature over here on this side so we don't have to design it again. So I'm going to go over here to create and mirror. I'm going to select the feature I want to mirror. So I'm going to click there. I also want to select the fillet. And now I want to select the plane. So I'm going to click here and select the plane now, and then hit OK. And if you get an error, you get an error. You're just going to have to make it again. So real quick, I'm going to just draw out the same feature again, a circle, 32 millimeter diameter, finish sketch, extrude it a distance of 3, hit OK, and then we're going to just add another fillet here right there of 2 millimeters. Hit OK. Since we didn't end up using this over here, I'm going to right click down here, suppress feature so I don't see it. So the last thing we need to do is just hollow this guy out so we can slide it onto the handlebars. So we're gonna start a sketch here and draw out a circle with a diameter. And if you want it to fit, and I have 3D printed these with NinjaFlex, and they do fit over the handlebars. So you want that diameter to be 22.4. And if you have different size handlebars or whatever, you may want to adjust this diameter right here if it doesn't fit the first time. So I'm going to go ahead now and just finish my sketch. I'm going to extrude this feature, and I want to go the other way. And I'm just going to drag it out all the way through here. Make sure it says cut and hit OK. All right, so that about does it for this tutorial. The one thing I will say is modify. Let's give it a physical material because, as you know, rubber grips are made of rubber. And so go to plastic, and we're going to come on down to rubber, down to R. And there's different sorts of rubber you can add. I'm going to go ahead and add just rubber silicone here. And I'm going to go ahead and just change the appearance because I like my grips to be sort of dark color. So I'm going to change the appearance, and I'm going to give it kind of a dark color and hit done. Go ahead and close it. All right, and make sure you save it when you're finished. And if you go to render, you'll get a really cool sort of perspective image of your design. All right, that should do it for this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something. We'll see you next time.